good afternoon, good evening to wherever you are in the world. I really hope you're doing well, and I mean that sincerely. Right now, we are looking at the crypto markets. I'll be putting out some updates because I know a lot of times, especially now, people are having more and more questions about is the top in? Where are we going from here? A lot of people have price targets, some people have time targets, uh, when they should be looking to sell, when they should be looking, is it too late to get in? And as of right now, a lot of times people talk about seasonality, and I think that's just another way to say time. But during this, we'll be looking at a technical analysis view that's unlike anything you guys have ever seen on the internet. I assure you of that because I've looked while I've been studying, while I've been trading actively, whether it's my own account or prop firm accounts. I've looked at all this, and I can tell you there's nothing like this on the internet. But a lot of times people put a lot of emphasis on price targets. And sometimes people do put an emphasis on seasonality or, hey, this is altcoin season. This is where the top of the market's supposed to be. And while that's all good to have in your head, I do want to let you guys know this technical analysis is not based on any news. It's, of course, good to be aware when news comes out, whether it's weekly unemployment reports, NFP, FOMC, or like what we saw on Friday with the Jackson Hole Symposium where Powell's speaking. We saw a huge pump in the market, whether it was in the NASDAQ, in traditional finance, or in crypto. Now, we'll get into all of that. But again, I want to thank you so much for being here. And if you do have any questions, please ask me in the comments because I would love to engage and I really want to be able to show everyone a new way of doing technical analysis where you don't have to really rely on reading news, every single tweet out there, or staying up to all the inundation you see on the internet with fancy thumbnails. This will really just be straight technical analysis, and trust me, it works. Now, without further ado, we're going to take a top-down approach looking at Bitcoin, Ethereum, Cardano. I'll see if I have time later to put up other crypto, altcoins up there, but also some other charts that I'm looking at, like the total market caps, and just how all this really plays out using the same strategy and what to look for to make better financial and trading decisions. So a lot of times right now, what I see and what I hear from my friends are people asking, is the top in? I don't think the top is in just yet, but we definitely hit a what I would call a higher time frame turn. This is on the 2048-minute candle. Here you actually will realize in the next coming minutes, I use a lot of custom time frames and a lot of custom candles, you would say. So for this one, it's the 2048. We came up going from turning point 4 to turning point 5, and we hit this target square on around the third arc. The third arc is a resistance area. The resistance area is a strong one. Third, fourth, and fifth arcs are those levels of resistance we look for. And right now we are actually in an increased period of volatility, not because of summer ending, but everyone knows there's lower liquidity during that time. But it is a manipulation period. It's going to be a manipulation period until about the 2nd of October, give or take a few days. But that is where we're going to see the final kind of shakeout, and I'll show you exactly why. So we hit turning point 5 in the middle of a cycle where it's supposed to be. Right now we'll see that we are going to begin making a move down. We can move up. I do think right now 124,000 is actually the top over the next couple of days. And here's why. On the time frame below, you'll see throughout all this, the lower time frames give you clues via market structure and it'll feed what's actually happening on the time frames above. And just like that, when the time frames above are doing something, they will demand the lower time frames to also do something. Everything works hand in hand. So right now we hit We hit my time target, so turning point 5 is in. It's moving out of this, what I call the kill zone area of the GAN, the fixed GAN square, and you also see the same turn happen here. Price came down out of the kill zone and started moving its way through acceleration zones, around resistance, down accumulated, and actually came in a few days ago and hit my target for the 512. This is the time frame right below the 2048. So based on how the 512 reacts, we'll know a little bit more about the time frame above. These are great time frames for accumulating, making investing decisions on whether it's time to get out the market or not. And it really depends on your strategy on how long you want to hold. Right now we did see we got a pump up back above this 45-degree line. This will be a major influence to see where we are on how Bitcoin will continue moving. Currently above it, we're bullish. Below it, we're bearish. Outside this kill zone, the above time frame of 2048, we are still bearish. We do have more time for the 512 to go down because the 2048 is showing that at least between 14 days to 27 days, we have that long to put in turning point 6. This is the sweet spot for turning point 6 to actually form right up in here. And this is really what I'm looking at. Until then, I'm not really looking to buy any Bitcoin or to trade any swing longs. If anything, I'm looking for an opportunity to get short or trading another market where I can do some spot swings or just some day trades. Here you'll see we're looking at between 5 days, or I wouldn't say that, but as early as Sunday, which is tomorrow. And I'm not expecting too much of a move, but you never know. We could get a reversal because Sunday opens in traditional markets can be sometimes unpredictable. They could gap down, as you know from a lot of other YouTubers. They talk about new week opening gaps and the way the market could just gap up based on expectations. So, but as of right now, I'm still expecting a move down. You remember how the lower time frames feed information about the higher time frames? Let's take a look at the 128. This is a 128-minute candle, so it's about 2 hours and 8 minutes. Over the next 20 hours or so, if there is a continuation up, I will look for this, of course, the low from Friday's low to hold and to move up a little bit more. This move up should just take out this little high at about 117 and then continue down. I say this because on the time frame below that, on the 32-minute, we hit turning point 7 and turning point 7's, likely landing spot. We have a lot more time for 8 to come in. And here's the thing. If turning point 8 decides to start moving down like this and takes out this low immediately, then we know 5 is in here and we're going down further and a lot sooner. However, what I'm expecting is either 8 to come in, maybe down to here, 115, 114 and a half, and just take out this low, this intermittent low right here. It could do so and then start moving up. Something like this. As of right now, you can tell we are still above the 45-degree angle. So I am not trading at this point because really I'm looking at riding more momentum than just simple price action. Looking at Ethereum, we can see basically the same thing play out. However, this Ethereum actually does look a little stronger right now. On the 512, it has taken out clear highs. It is not moving down yet. We are putting in turning point 2 already, where, remember on Bitcoin, we're looking to find out if turning point 2 is in yet. So as of right now, you could say altcoin season is underway. It's because altcoins are showing a lot more strength in the market at this point. I can't speak to rotationals of large market caps into smaller ones yet, but it's going to be obvious that lower cap coins at this moment are showing a lot more upside than Bitcoin. Here on this 2048, we're still headed up. We haven't put turning point 1 in yet, but interestingly enough, I said 14 days until Bitcoin can find its earliest low on the 2048. 14 days is actually the first point I would actually say Ethereum may find its yeah top for yeah top for September and August, you could say. So this is the summer top I see for Ethereum around 52,000. I'm sorry, 5,242 is where I see it. Even if you were to scale it, the kill zone slightly differently. Actually, I would probably scale it like this. We're looking at between 49 to 57. But again, I really like that 52 to 56 range. I'll put some lines there all over the next 14 days. Now, you may ask why. Well, if you see here on the lower time frame on the 512, still a higher time frame for me because I trade I trade extremely low time frames because I'm a scalper at heart. I don't necessarily care where the market is moving long term. I just need to know where it's going to be moving in the session that I'm trading. Spot bags are different, but as of right now, as far as me trading, it's about lower time frames. I'm looking at the 128 also. There is more time. Looks like into Sunday or into next week, whether it's on the 25th or as late as the 26th of August, 27th, there's still time for Ethereum to go up to about 5,200. And I'll put a line right here. It will check back in on this in a couple days just to see how the forecasts are playing out. Of course, because I don't trade any type of fundamentals, I can't tell you about on-chain analysis. I really just look at technical analysis. And this is what my analysis is saying. My forecast is still saying up over the next couple days, but the low of $4,071 should be holding. Some other charts that I've also created, I can see also hit weekly targets for Bitcoin. I was looking at about 117, we came up to 120, 124, blew through this one, two, third arc here, came up, putting a slightly higher high, and went down. And because the weekly chart is one step above that 2048, it would make so much sense because up until this point, we had this high from the 13th of July. Now, if this was turning point 5, it was coming in slightly early, but in an acceptable range for where turning point 5 would form on a market cycle. However, it came down, put in a higher low, sorry, came in, put in a lower low, but then zoomed right back up. And this can also be expected because we are in a manipulation period that started actually at the beginning of July. So normally I would say that's 5 and it was in. However, knowing what period we're in is just equally as important because time is equal to price. So it doesn't mean price is more important, time is more important. They are equal. And because we know that it's a manipulation period till the end of September into October, I took that as turn point 5, and now we have made that lower low. Again, it's a manipulation period. Look at the way it took out the high, then took out the low, and bounced up. I'm expecting further downside still. But on higher time frames, we do see that whether it's the monthly or the weekly, we still have until potentially December 15th before we see a complete blow off top. I'm looking at levels still of 131 to 145,000. That would also match up with what I see on the monthly, but the monthly could really go into April. However, I take it one day at a time, one week at a time, one month at a time. I'm not I'm not so set on holding any bags until April if I start seeing something break down ahead of time. But as of right now, I'm sitting tight until at least the what? The summer equinox? No. Fall equinox, yeah. It's the solstices, right? But until the fall equinox, yeah, we can reevaluate that. But as of right now, we did hit a monthly target combined with a weekly target, and that usually is my first signal to say, hey, we could be experiencing some downside. Again, even if it's just in manipulation form. Looking at the total market caps, we also kind of see the same thing. Why? Because what Bitcoin is over $1 trillion in market cap. It really is the driver of the ship. You can see here on the daily time frame, we also hit a turning point 5 target. And while we do have time for it to pop back up over the next, really over the next day or so, I'm expecting still some pull down until, again, possibly the first week of September. That'll be after the first FOMC, after Labor Day is all done. But I'm expecting either some consolidation or a little drop here. As far as the weekly here is still showing some strength. We still have a lot of time for 5 to come in because 5 really comes in. And let me get rid of this so you have some more, you can see a little bit more. 5 typically forms in the middle of a cycle. I can go over my methods in another video, or if you have any questions, please ask me. I could be more specific about it. But 5 normally forms in the middle of a cycle, which will give us, again, I'm thinking till about November to really, put in its turn. So until then, I do feel like it's going to waffle a bit and then continue moving up. Again, I'm looking until the end of this month before everything goes up. Again, people say September is usually typically a bad month for Bitcoin. Well, let me show you, let me remind you again. Turning point 5 is in. So it is going to go down at least until the 7th or the 20th, which again, can't make this up, is the beginning of fall. So again, seasonality, whatever you call it, again, I say it's in the technicals. It's going down, but after that, it will continue up, and everyone will say, well, hey, look, September has been a historically bad month, but we are on its way back up after that. You can see also the monthly is looking strong. We still have time for turning point 9 to come in. 9 will have to come in before August 1st of 2028, so we do have a lot of time here. And again, you can call this the blow off top or whatever for the end of the session, the end of the season, but we still have until May of next year, really, for crypto to completely see its top. And this is one of the things I look at for to see if altcoins are going to start pushing up. Just like we saw how Ethereum was showing more strength than Bitcoin, this is the same chart, the same daily chart. Sorry, this is the weekly chart. And I'm looking at, again, towards the end of the year. So Bitcoin will see a fall, let's say around November or anything like that. You can see the rest of the market cap we'll at least make another high above 1.16 trillion to 1.24 or higher 1.41 trillion towards the end of the year. This will probably be the end of what people may call the Santa Claus rally, but it's really because turning point 5 comes in the middle of the session, the middle of the cycle, and that cycle is not going to end until about March. So it could come in a little early, that's still the middle of the cycle, and I'm having January 5th to December 29th. Boom. Now looking at a altcoin that I do trade, Cardano, we can see Cardano also is not showing as much strength as Ethereum is right now, but it did hit its target right on track at 23 candles down, and it popped up. Again, I'm waiting to see how this 45-degree angle holds. Now that it is a little bullish above, but the lower time frame is going to give me all the information I need. And the first level I'm going to have to look at to see is, does it hold above 95 cents? If so, I'm going to have to see it get above a dollar again. Let's say 99 and 5, what's that, 5/10. It's going to have to get back above that to sustain a high and let me know that we are actually making a new high for the 512. The 2048 though, I'm looking at 9 days, 20 days, and 27 days. Again, right at that fall equinox to putting in a high about of $1.29. This is a coin that I am interested in longing here. Again, not financial advice, but this is where I'm looking at the market going for smaller cap altcoins like Cardano. As long as we get above 95 cents, I'm looking at booking some longs myself because that lines up. I'll show you. The 2048 lines up with, where am I? 27 days. That'll be like a turning point 3 coming up here and then coming down and then maybe back up. Boom. You could put 3 or 5 in this general area, but also can come in as early as 20 days or 11 days. So that'll be right after about Labor Day weekend. All acceptable places. They all match up also with this. But again, I'll let the lower time frames feed the higher time frames. About 42 days will be, yep, about 13 days right here. This will be my first point. 20 days will be my second point, and then 27 days will be my third targets to get up to about $1.15 or $1.29 for Cardano. All right, and thank you again just for tuning in, watching this video, staying with me to this point. Again, this is not something you guys normally see all the time, but it is what I do for a living. And when I say that is, I trade lower time frames. I can show you exactly how powerful this method is. If you guys are interested, staying with me, because you stayed with me this long, I'm going to just show you how this entry was amazing. Again, all I knew was looking at the Forex Factory calendar, knowing that Powell was going to speak at 10 o'clock. Not sure if we have to wait until after he says something or if he's going to release something. I just know, hey, look, news comes out at 8:30. News is going to come out at 10 o'clock. News is coming out at, open bells at 9:30. I look to see what the market's doing, and this is what I mean. So here I'm looking at time targets of 52 candles in increments of 13. I just took this measurement of 13 candles, put it at the end here, at the end of 52. That will give me 65 candles right here, right on the money. Again, this is something that we could have seen from 2 days earlier on the 20th of August, the way it's coming down. I was down on lower time frames looking for a turning point 4. Remember, 5 is going to form somewhere in the middle of the cycle, plus or minus one standard deviation from the middle. We're looking at, boom, hit the target here, blew up. What time did it go up? Well, the first candle drew down, open bell, came down, and then what? 9:52, start moving up. This 10 o'clock candle right here, that was 10 o'clock. That's when Chairman Powell started speaking at Jackson Hole, or at least his time was. But again, I'm telling you, I'm trading on lower time frames. So look how cool this is. Here's the market structure. We start going lower, higher low, lower low. At this point, we know the 2 minute or time frame above the 30-second is the 2 minute is going down. Boom. We hit turning point 2 just at the last acceptable time for this turn to come in. At that point, we're like, okay, we know it's going to start moving up from here, but we don't know exactly how much yet, right? Because at this point, you're still expecting a turn down. However, at this point, we also hit a target for the 32-minute. If the higher time frames are making a move, the lower time frames are going to have to obey it, right? Just like the lower time frames are feeding the higher ones are controlling. At this point, we made a higher high. Why? Because we just came above turning point 3. So now we have what you call a shift in market structure, a break of structure. We made a higher high. So now we know that we at least have the first clue that the 32-minute, each candle is 32 minutes now. The 32-minute candle is in. And we also know 6 comes in around here, and 7 is going to come in on a Thursday. Well, typically in traditional markets. But here we know 6 is going to still come in this area. It's going to start making its move up. Now, let me show you this entry. This was right on the cube root, right at the end. So even though this started dropping at 9 o'clock in the morning, 9:04, right at 9:40, it hit 70 candles exactly. And that's what I mean. This is why this strategy is so effective and so, for lack of a better term, amazing. Uh, it really takes some of the guessing work out of trading. It hit 70 candles exactly, popped up, hit 300% here, and then after that, it exploded. So how would you have entered? Where would you have known to enter? Well, after we saw a higher high come in, we're looking for a higher low. Now, whether to use, Fibonacci retracements or what have you, you could have looked at that. It hit 0.382. To me, that is between zero point 0.5 and 0.382. That's a very strong retrace to continue up. But let's say you were late on this. Look at this. Right here, if you would entered at 112,659, that is exactly right here. You would have entered this trade right here if you had just put a limit order or a market order as soon as it went up above here. Why? This happened exactly 3 minutes before he started speaking at 10 o'clock. Boom. This happened right there. 3 minutes before you were able to see a higher low, you would have seen the higher high and said, you know what? I'm just going to open up a long, put stop loss at what? 111.9 and been safe. And what would you have been able to reap from that? You would be able to have taken advantage of a 4.5% move just in spot. Now, if you were trading leverage, 100x, that would have been 400. If you're just trading 10x, 40, you would be able to make some real serious moolah on this move just by playing the market structure, not guessing, not knowing what he was saying or anything like that, just trading the market structure. It went through the roof. Again, over $4,000 just over the next couple minutes. I'll show you some other markets later, but again, I don't want this to go too long. Just want to show you guys what I'm seeing in the markets, what I'm expecting, and how you guys can also profit from this. So thank you so much for your time, And remember, no matter what you're doing, stop guessing, start trading without emotion, and do your best to rest in profits. Thanks, everyone.